Today, I wish to talk about Ciel in both the original games, the remake, and as well as the multiplayer games. As I have mentioned before in my Noel analysis, that I don't really like everything they did to Ciel in the remake. My point with this analysis is to get people to see, well, my point, but also to get people to have a better understanding of Ciel. I would also like to recommend Sleepy Chris analysis on Ciel, as it's a really in-depth analysis and I highly recommend it for anyone who likes Ciel. Ciel is the executioner of the church. Originally sent to Shigitono's school to see if Shigi will end up being Ro's next host, she fabricated everyone's memory to have them believe her to be their trustworthy senpai. Shiki would come to discover more of Ciel's true nature as the story of Tsukihime unfolded. Ciel at one point was a host for Ra and was subjugated to his influence and did many horrible crimes against humanity. These crimes that she can never forgive herself for, nor the church with why they torture her. Deeply ingrained in her due to the church influence as well as her, she could never find herself to be forgiven. That is until Shiki managed to help her through their relationship. When Ra finally reincarnated, after Shiki removed his immortality, Ciel was the one who gave the finishing blow on Ra, who could no longer reincarnate. In the original timeline, after the defeat of Ra, she continued to stay in Masaki Town and, well, just followed order from the church to search and destroy any evil that may be lurking in the shadows. In the original series timeline, there's something about Ciel that I don't think the remake tries to replicate. And that is, Ciel really sucks at being a trustworthy senpai. Ciel is toxic and instigator. There's a lot of terrible things about Ciel, but she does try to be a better person at the end of the day. This is the lesson that she learns. She learns that she needs to love herself. This lesson that Shiki gave to her is very important. So in a way, she tried to thank him by being the senpai that she believed he thought him to be. When in reality, Shiki always saw the traits that actually were leaking out. He saw the mishandlement of how she couldn't be a good senpai, how she was rather, bad at her espionage job. He saw all these traits and still loved her for it. Arcade, Akiha, and Shiki all constantly tell Ciel in all these spin-off games that she isn't dependable. And this more so shows how much they cared because they are telling her she doesn't need to be dependable. She doesn't need to be this person that constantly, has to be the dependable senpai, the merciless tool of the church. She can just be herself around other people. This doesn't mean that Ciel is incapable of doing anything in these spin-off games. Far from it. She can be dependable when she needs to be, and is dependable when she needs to be. However, they don't constantly ask for her help because they just want her to live her life as a normal person. They want her to live her life how she can, no matter what. A few things I like to mention here before we go any further because I will be talking mostly about Melty Blood after this point. For one, in the original Melty Blood, both her and Arcade have a reference to Kagetsu Toya, where they had a punch out. If you happen to counter parry at least 3 times, I believe you can get this Easter egg. Also, that Akadenza and Type Lumina have both the same arcade story, so there's not much to talk about there. Until we get to Power Ciel, which I will be talking about. The aspect I really want to mention is her design. Her original sprite, as well as her original portrait, shows how unkempt her hair is. It shows how unput together she is as a character, and how this persona that she constantly put on was only a persona, and it can easily be see-through. When it comes to Power Ciel design, Power Ciel no longer has her tattoos in the new Melty Blood as well as the Tsukihime remake. These tattoos, as well as her, muscles, are kind of removed. And it's a shame because when you see that, you can tell she's been through a lot of fights. It's not she's a dainty little girl with small arms. No, when she takes off that coat, you can see she can throw down and has thrown down. She is tougher than anyone around you. She has been through so much, and she has the tattoos to prove it. These two things really show how much Ciel has been around the streets, how much she has to learn on her feet, as well as how much she, take care of herself. And these are all aspects that I don't feel the new Melty Blood as well as the new Tsukihime remake keep in her. In the Melty Blood series, we see that Ciel has a certain respect for Akiha. She wants to be friends with Arcade, as well as a special relationship with Shiki, but that's pretty much all the girls. Finally, we have her ending in Actress Again, where it's a really weird ending. The ending shows her at a window looking down doing the church dirty work. She regrets the work that she is doing, but she knows she's best for it. And she mentions to herself that she hopes that one day she doesn't have to fight Arcade again as an enemy and would just rather be rivals in love. Ciel's gameplay is somewhat simple yet a jack of all trades. At the same time, she is also a bit difficult. For example, her key attack, let's call it, happened to be a much different attack in the new game compared to the old one. In one way, you can say that it's actually working the way it's intended to be. A projectile that comes out rather quickly without any delay. However, in the old game, there was always a massive amount of delay that you can input. And depending on how fast you are, you will get it. And this would really lead to a lot of mix-up as well as a lot of combo potential. This leads me to another point. Ciel is very acrobatic in the old games. She could be flying around the screen like crazy and it'd be hard to touch her. That being said, she also would just constantly have a good amount of mix on you. There's so much tools she has when it comes to her mix game that it's kind of disappointing how much they didn't follow up with it. Power Ciel is the embodiment of the true nature of the Bureau agency, a demon-killing executioner. Ciel arms herself with the 7th Holy Scripture in order to combat the 27 dead apostle ancestors. The constantly active 7th Holy Scripture requires a huge amount of magical energy, enough to use up 6 months worth of magic. Her arms have been strengthened magically in order to handle this heavy weaponry. Perhaps due to her specialization in destroying heretics, she is even more cold and unforgiving than usual, as she absorbed even the blood of the dead apostles when she fights them, as a source of magical energy replenishment. Elizabeth likened her to a vampire. At least this is what the Melty Blood Compendium says about Elizabeth's reaction to her. Personally, after seeing the story, I believe she actually loses faith in Ciel because she doesn't respect her. She sees how she's brutally killing people and doesn't view her as the same honorable person she saw in Ciel's normal route. In her normal route, Ciel and Elizabeth actually get along quite well together, and they have difficulty fighting each other because they both have a sense of respect for each other. Unlike her normal self, who mainly uses the Black Keys, Ciel mainly uses the Seven Holy Scripture for her attacks. She also doesn't hold back from using the numeral secret crest that came from Rob from when he possessed her body. In Melty Blood, after his gang, we see a happy ending where she's ready to relax and just enjoy the day. Which, personally, I feel like both of the normal Ciel and the Power Ciel endings can be switched, and should be switched, but at the same time, I understand why. Both show a dark aspect of Ciel's character. She has to be the cold, ruthless church person to destroy heretics. At the same time, she is a girl that wants to enjoy life as much as possible. Power Ciel in the Melty Blood Type Luna games is much different from the Power Ciel we know in the old game. She doesn't even show off the unicorn spirits that she has, that is the Seven Holy Scripture. In that saying, Power Ciel fights in a much different way. She uses varying amount of weapons, from guns to weird saw blades, to even like whips. She uses all this as well as the bunker, and this makes her feel like as everyone's been calling her, a Monster Hunter character. Personally, I don't really like new Ciel playstyle wise, and it's just mainly because all her hits doesn't feel like they leave much of an impact. And this is also because of the fact that she is much more combo heavy than old Power Ciel. When you were playing Power Ciel in the old game, you felt like you were hitting people with a dump truck. You were hurting people whenever you hit them, and it did a lot of damage, and it was so much fun. I do think her arsenal is small, yet it's so... Besides the rocket launcher, it's such a refreshing, simple thing that hitting hard is fun.
シエルってうるさいから私の城にしまっちゃった。適当に放り投げたから城の天守から転がり落ちて地面に落ちる頃にはボロ雑巾。越えられない壁を見上げて一生苦しめばいいんだ。驚きました。あなたにそんな感情があるの？怒りで我を忘れそうですか？けど私も同じです。彼はあなたを信じていた。敬愛さえしていた。その信頼、あなたは目を背けた。あなたに聞かせる洗礼はありません。懺悔も国会もただの吸血鬼には過ぎたものです。
I guess it's time to talk about my problem with Ciel, huh? Well, my problem with Remake and New Ciel. My big problem is she is, one, way too dependable of a senpai, and this kind of disconnected her from feeling as human as she did. She was terrible at her job, yet she still did it. She still tried to be a normal high school girl, and she was barely actually doing it right. Whereas new Ciel does it with flying colors. She easily does everything she needs to. She is almost perfect, basically. Most of her negative traits are given to Noelle instead. And as much as I like Noelle, I don't think it's right to give all of Ciel's negative traits to Noelle. But that's not only it. In Remake, Ciel is oftentimes always shown in the right and never really shown in the wrong. As such, we never really see her be in the wrong. Heck, even Multi-Blood type Lumina actually shows this in a way. So if you happen to do Power Ciel Arcade first, you will see everyone as a heinous villain not caring for Shiki. However, if you do Mario Arcade first, you will happen to encounter Arcade who's mentioning Shiki, and she tells you that she will put him in a tower so that way Roa cannot take over his body. However, Ciel route paints Arcade as a complete villain who carelessly put Shiki into that tower. It goes to show that, well, Nasu took the wrong message from what fans wanted. Fans wanted Ciel to have her own route, and they also complained a bit about her instigation as well as her being, well, kind of toxic to Arcade. Gaslighting her, instigating her, many things she does are completely wrong. But at the same time, that's still part of her character. People's problem with it was that it was too many times in the story. Now you pretty much erased most of them and made Ciel a completely different character. And I really don't like that. But if it's any consolation, I do understand why he did this. It's just also sad that he took the wrong message from, well, what people wanted for the Ciel route. But he also took the right message because we did get our original Ciel route.
埋葬期間の真実を見るのは初めてだが、褒められたものではないな、代行者シエ。自分の来た道を振り返ってみたまえ。その赤い足跡は異端の証だ。使徒の返り血すら魔力として取り込むなど、
まるで吸血鬼のようだ、ですか？否定はしませんが、今のあなたに非難する資格があるのですか？
あるとも。私がすでに異端であったとしても、非を訴える心は残っている。その姿は君には似合わない。魔を憎む者はやがて魔になり変わる。祈りの道に戻ることが君にとっての唯一の救いだ。
驚きました。本気で私の身を案じているのですね、あなた。これは少しばかり気が引けます。
それでは考えを改めると。よかった。おとなしく帰ってくれるとこちらも助か。
これだから育ちのいいお嬢さんは、その平和に緩んだ頭、苛立ちを通り越して軽蔑に値します。構えなさい、盾の騎士。これは名誉ある決闘ではない。処刑人が異端を処理するだけの話。名乗りも尊厳も不要です。
Before I end the video, I quickly wanted to talk about this. And in case you're wondering why my voice sounds a little bit different, I'm congested and was in the middle of editing this video. And I noticed I didn't really talk much about other relationships besides the main ones. So I quickly wanted to get this out the way, and I feel it's actually worth talking about. Let's start with Rizka. Risbeth and Ciel have a really interesting relationship in the beginning. When you play base Ciel and do her arcade, you can see that Risbeth have a great amount of respect for her, as vice versa for Ciel. Risbeth mentioned how she could have taken a few pot shots, but she didn't. The two are happily okay with fighting each other, and I really think that shows how much the two respect each other. They don't want to fight each other, but they also find it an honor to fight each other. There's a bit of falsehood in a way too, which I'll get to when I talk about Power Ciel version with Risbeth. When you do Power Ciel Arcade, Risbeth is a lot less, respectful of Ciel. She sees her as a monster and doesn't see any of the things that she once had. She doesn't see her having a Morse code and see her as dirty as a vampire. It's a interesting relationship because of how once she respected her, and now she sees no respect in her at all. Meanwhile, Power Ciel responds in that she has to do this. She has to have no moral code, and that fooling yourself with having a moral code is stupid. Insisting that she herself was stupid for trying to have this moral code, trying to be this all-abiding senpai that she constantly tried to be. This is the one time where she has to be the merciless person she is. This is exactly what I meant when I said that Power Ciel is much, much more accurate to what real Ciel is. When she needs to get the job done, she will get the job done. And I feel like that's really great at showing this side of Ciel that we don't often get to see. Now, talking about Ciel's relationship with Noelle, as I said before, the two has a relationship where Noelle took all her bad traits. However, I didn't really talk about their relationship as anything else. But their relationship is much different from Risbeth and Ciel, where the two have a really mutual respect bond. Noelle and Ciel happen to have a, falsehood relationship, where the two will say they might have some respect for each other, but they don't actually mean it. Ciel sees Noelle as a slacker and doesn't really take her job seriously. Meanwhile, Noelle sees Ciel as a careless monster. Noelle sees Ciel as a monster who just does whatever she believes is right and is constantly justified because she is strong. Meanwhile, Ciel sees her as a slacker, never taking her job seriously, when Noelle is constantly taking her job seriously and even going a bit too far sometimes. You have Power Ciel and then Apostle Noelle. The two have a much different relationship than Power Ciel and Risbeth. The difference is, besides a loss of respect, where there was never one, it's a clear loss of, any preface. At the end, the two admit that they wish they could have been friends. If maybe circumstances were different, maybe they could have been friends at one point. But it's pretty well known that they wouldn't have been friends. Noelle is vastly different from a person that can forgive any of Ciel's deeds. Meanwhile, Ciel feels terribly awful for everything that Noelle had to endure and sees herself pitying her all the time. So the biggest difference between the two is that, Power Ciel is a character that is dwarfed by her environment and changes in her life. She will feel bad for the stuff that she does, but she doesn't let that stop her. Meanwhile, Remake Ciel constantly wears her tragedies on her shoulders, constantly being reminded of them and sometimes even letting them stop her. And it shows how much more connected she is to her feelings rather than Ciel, who had drew her feelings away multiple times. I don't want to really talk about Red Arcway and Ciel relationship because I most likely will talk more about that in the Arcway analysis if I ever get to that. Anyway, so let's go to the conclusion.
タタリは完全に消滅。 エルトナムが起こした不老不死への道もついえたということですね。オシリスの砂、錬金術の基本にして最奥と言われる賢者の石は、あんなにも錬成する技術が素晴らしくはありました。私たちにはまだ手に余るものでしょう。次の指令ですか。タタリが消えたといっても、その後始末が山ほど残っている。休んでいる暇はありません。この町に隠れる死者たちの処理にあと半年というところですね。その後は彼女と決着をつけることになるんでしょう。まあその時はその時です。今は当面のことにいたしましょう。もし本当に救いがあるのだとしたら、何かの間違いで彼女と共存できる日が来るかもしれないです。
So overall, what do I think about Ciel? I had always been neutral towards her. And not that I don't like her in any way, it's just I do like, well, Arcoade, Akiha, Kohaku, and Siam way more than Ciel. At the same time, this analysis has made me respect Ciel more and more, and see a lot of the aspects that I didn't see before. See how she is a total opposite of Shiki, who holds the idea of being a new person rather than living in the past of being a person that he no longer is. I wish I liked Ciel more than a lot of people, but at the same time, I really hope in the other routes that we see older Ciel again. See much more of the traits that made Ciel who she was. See her be more flawed and not constantly pin the blame on, well, Mario or Noel. I really hope Ciel gets a chance to really shine in the next routes. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a wonderful day and take care.
それじゃあセブン